Hi, my name's John, and this is one of my first videos for my new YouTube channel, Musings from the John. It's a brief look at my faith journey. I was baptized in England, as was the custom, when I was about 6 weeks old. It was in an ancient Anglican church. Since my baptism, I spent very little of my life in any church, let alone the Anglican church. For a few years, as a child, my parents forced my sister and I to go to Sunday school at the local United Church. I often skipped out on this duty. I didn't like it at all and felt really odd because none of my friends had to go to church. I quit it. My parents weren't happy, not that they ever went to church themselves, but they could do nothing about it. About the only other church experience I had as a boy growing up was one summer at the invitation of a Baptist woman. I attended a summer Bible school. It was fun. She was a good teacher who I kept in touch with till I was a young man. Such was my short-lived childhood church experience. Not much at all. I grew up in a secular home in a secular community in British Columbia. We were working class, and the church long ago lost the working class. We were no exception. I was instructed by my parents and extended family to be a good person, to not steal or to hurt others, to be a good worker, a kind person. None of this was in any way linked with an eternal reward. It was simply the right thing to do, or so I was taught. In common with most of my friends, I gave no thought to God, Jesus, or the devil. I had no notion of being a sinner or any worries about heaven or hell. I was, generally speaking, a happy and contented young atheist. Almost everything I heard from family and friends about Christians was negative. They were snotty, judgmental, mean-spirited, and kind of weird. I was happy I was not a Christian. When I started dating girls, I mostly dated non-Christian girls. This wasn't so much a plan on my part as it was simply bowing to the numbers. There were far more non-Christian girls than Christian girls to choose from. Besides, I found most Christian girls unattractive and boring. I was sexually active from a fairly young age, 15 years old. Looking back on it, I know those girls weren't really ready for sex, and I wasn't either. But everyone was doing it, or so we thought at the time. So we did it, and often without much excitement or enjoyment, and always with the worry about an unwanted pregnancy. So I spent my early and middle adolescent years drinking, smoking, partying, and engaging in casual sexual experiences, which were largely meaningless and loveless activities. Near the end of my teen years, I had my first really serious long-term relationship with a girl. Her parents wanted her to be a Christian. She had other ideas. When her parents were home on a Sunday, which did not happen often, they insisted she go to church. I sometimes joined her. We would sit in the back of the church where we would take turns making jokes about the preacher and being a general nuisance to everyone around us. Ironically, it seems to me now, we would go directly from the church to a secluded place down by the Alouette River where we drank beer, made love, talked revolutionary politics, half hoped for a nuclear war and the end of the same old, same old. She introduced me to things that go bump into the night, the world of psychic experiences. I learned from her about ghosts, demons, spirits, witchcraft, astrology, mastering the hidden powers of the universe. I was thrilled with what I was learning. I found it all quite attractive in a dark sort of way, all of which was linked in my mind with the energy of young love, lust, sex, and being a kind of outlaw. She had a relatively large library on all things occult, which I avidly read. Her most prized book was an old book about magic chants, about attracting dark powers. We decided at some point that we would try to conjure up these forces. We took some time to gather up the spices, twigs, old snakeskins, feathers from a crow, fur from a black cat, bits of our pubic hair, urine, etc., and other stuff I no longer remember. We waited till we knew her parents would be away for the weekend. We went down to the basement, a suitably dark and spider-filled place. Perfect, we thought. We chalked in what we were taught was a devil's circle. We placed candles at all the cardinal points. We stripped naked and sat down inside the circle. We did our best to chant the prescribed chants. We waited, we shivered, partly from fear and partly from sitting on a cold basement floor butt naked. Nothing happened. On and off as time permitted, we tried a variety of incantations and spells in the hopes of engaging ghosts or demons or powers. It didn't happen, thankfully. During the year or so I hung out with this girl, the occult was always a part of our relationship. She often skipped school and was in trouble with the school. I missed too much work and lost several jobs. I was often broke and behind in car payments, etc. We drank too much, cared too little about others, dared each other to take ever greater risk, were sexually active anywhere, anytime the need hit us. And then it was over. Her parents moved to Australia, and I didn't. After her departure, I worked at a number of dead-end jobs, longed to do something better with my life, longed to go back to school and university. I traveled widely in North America, mostly by hitchhiking, doing the odd job till I had enough money to go on the road again. I was a voracious reader and read widely in history, philosophy, the work of the Beat Generations, the great Russian novelist, the American transcendentalists, especially Thoreau. I was still an atheist, although by this time I believed in reincarnation and had come to believe that spiritual adepts could plug into the universe to accomplish their ends. By this time also, though, I no longer experimented with magical practices. In fact, I was becoming increasingly skeptical of the occultist claims. By the time I met Mary, my future wife, a Lutheran girl, the daughter of a minister, I was ready for something more real, something more steady. Somehow, mismatched though we were, we quickly became each other's best friends. The easiest way to describe our courtship was that we walked and talked about all manners of things, but especially the truths of Christianity. I wasn't always ready to listen to what Mary was telling me. I reluctantly read the Bible in part for the first time in my life. I was 22 years old at the time. I thought it was horrible, filled with stories of wars, genocide, rape, slavery, the stoning of almost everyone, dead people walking around, Jesus going up into the clouds. Who could possibly find anything of any value in this book, I thought. I even secretly thought that maybe I might deconvert her, save her from the Christian lifestyle. It didn't work out that way. Slowly I began to change my way. The womanizing, hard drinking, fast driving, troubled rebel, broke, often unemployed, a dabbler in the occult, an atheist met his match in a gentle, godly woman. It didn't happen overnight. We often fought about religious questions. In time, though, almost without my being aware of it at first, I knew I was no longer an atheist. I believed in God, sometimes the God of the Bible, and at other times the God of the philosophers. But mostly, even though reluctantly, I felt myself being called by the Christian God, a personal, intervening God who cared about me and what I did with my life. I struggled against this growing realization. I didn't want to be a Christian. I didn't and still don't like churches. Heck, I don't even like most Christians. Still, I knew I was being called. But called by what, my old skeptical self would ask? Mere hope? Delusion? A big fat nothing? My relationship with God or the Spirit has waxed and waned, blew hot and cold over the years and decades, but I never once returned to my former atheism. I have a serious illness. It is being treated, and while there is room for optimism, it may yet shorten my life. A serious illness is a wonderful wake-up call, a kind of slap in the face, a reminder as if we need it, that hey, we will all die. The hour, day, or year is not always known, but we will die. I will die someday, and then what? Is this life all there is? Is there no hope of a life beyond this life? Am I a Christian? What do I believe about God, about the Bible, about sin, and so on? Surely, as I reach my 66th year with some health issues, now, not later, is the time to seriously examine these sorts of questions and to try to seek answers to them.